Is it possible to make $200,000 a year working only 10 hours a week? For most people, it is not possible. In fact, they have a structure of earning money, which is trading dollars for hours. And even in most business models, you're not going to be able to make that much working that little. What I want to show you here in this video is how I have been able to not just make $100,000, $200,000, even $500,000, but have a seven-figure business working 10 to 15 hours a week. And I'm actually strategizing right now currently. I'm going to share some of the stuff that I'm going to be doing so that I only have to work 5 to 10 hours a week over the next 6 months. I have my second child on the way. My wife is pregnant, and we're excited the baby comes in the fall. And so I have actually decided that before the baby comes, I will only be working 5 to 10 hours a week during that time period. Now, we have a great support system around us, but I know that it's possible. Why do I know that it's possible? Because I have actually helped build multiple businesses and coach and mentor people to do this. Here's the interesting part. I love working. I actually do. I really love what I get to do for business. I love creating content like this. It's incredible. It's fun. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. However, there are limited time and resources in the day, and I don't want to miss my children growing up. And I also want to be available to support my wife during this time period when she gives birth, as well as raising. We already have a 1.5-year-old throughout all of this process. So all that to say, that's my life. Probably doesn't matter to you, but how do you, if you go from where you are today, work only 10 to 15 hours a week to be able to make 6 or even multiple 6 and maybe even eventually 7 figures? I'll tell you this, you can do it from the beginning. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They're like, well, that's great. You're making 7 figures. Of course, you got the money to hire staff. You got all the resources available to you and all the knowledge and experience to be able to do this. But what about little old me? What about normal people who don't have all of these resources, and you don't have the mentors? You don't have all of that. Well, here's what I'm going to provide you here today is a blueprint and a model that I believe works for anybody, to where you only need to work 10 to 15 hours a week in your business. Now, if you want to work more than that, that's great. And here's the cool part about this is that working more than 10 to 15 hours a week produces great returns. If you got 40, 60, 80 hours a week to work, like if you're single, if you don't have any kids, I mean, my goodness, knock yourself out. But here's the thing. Most people feel like they have to work that much and burn themselves out to be worthy of the amount of money that they want to make. Because that's what corporate America has trained people, is that you should only make this much based on the effort that you put in. It's a lie. It's a scam. And quite frankly, I'm going to come right out and say it. It is directly connected to the same mindset that influences a lot of the economic models that are opposite of capitalism. Let's put it that way. Communism, socialism. And right now today, we have a mass global indoctrination that is getting people to accept the fact that making wealth is evil, and that making money enough to live off of, or an abundance of money, more than you need to live off of, right? I'm going to tell you this straight up. I don't need to make $1 million or $10 million a year. Nobody does, to live off of. You can have an extremely comfortable life with as many options as you want, making around $300,000 to $500,000 a year in this economy with inflation, and live anywhere that you want to. Beyond about $500,000, because with inflation, those numbers are doubled. It used to be about $250,000. Now it's about $500,000 today. The differences in quality of life are not that major. You just get to do things faster as far as that goes. And the reason why you would make more than $500,000 a year is not for yourself, but to leverage it into being able to create assets and have impact, as well as vision and, quite frankly, power in the world today. Finance and wealth is power, and it gives you options and power so that you don't have to be controlled by a boss, a CEO, or another company. Okay, there are companies today that are publicly traded that are only worth about $25 to $100 million. I have friends that run businesses that are at that level. That when you play at that game, it's a different world that you operate in. And most people, especially probably most of the people who are watching this video, you're not operating in that world. That's the world that I have operated in and worked in. When did my mom first make 8 figures? I think it was like 2009. Okay? So that was 15 years ago that my family, my mother, some of y'all might not know who she is. Her name is Sandy Kurkowski. And she built a business. She's been a multimillionaire, made no less than $1 million a year for every year for the last 31 years. Now, why am I sharing my mom's story compared to this? Well, I was there along the way with her, helping her with the marketing, the strategy, and all of that every step of the way during that time period since about 2011, okay? And so it's when my mom hit this level of making $20 million a year in business, everything changed. The lifestyle, the choices, how she looked at the world, and it influenced our family, myself, my brothers, everyone around us. I'm going to be the first to admit, I live in a world that is different than most of the people that I coach and mentor. And I have for about 15 years, both mentally as well as financially. But I also have made a commitment to this, that I don't want to live off of, quote unquote, mommy's money. Now, I have a ton of advantages, and I don't negate any of that being related to my mother and the lessons that she's taught me. But here's what I want to do, is I want to pass those on to you. How many people do you know who are the children of multi-millionaire successful business owners that have learned the lessons and then want to pass those on to you, and they've even been able to apply them themselves? What I want to pass on to you is how you can make a multi-six-figure income working only 10 to 15 hours a week. And this is the lesson that I quite frankly, I learned it from my mother. And I learned it as well from some of my best clients that I worked with. Another client that I worked with, his name was Rick Pino. I helped him build his business to over $10 million a year. And I did not see that man work more than 5 to 10 hours a week, every single week. Spent most of his time with his kids. I respected it so much. And I was like, okay, if he could do it, my mom can do it. I know anybody who wants to build a business in this space can do it as well. And it really all just boils down to choices. And I think that's the part that I think that we got to get clear in our mind, is that the amount of hours that you work is actually a choice. It's not a necessity, okay? There are times where you may need to grind it out, where you may need to take a week or two and you work full time. But you do that so then you can pull back to work less. And when we can learn to automate things and realize that working more does not actually produce more finances, okay? You got to have that belief for this to work. I did not have this belief 5 years ago. 5 years ago, my wife and I was no longer working with my mom. This was in 2019, right before COVID hit. And I had my own business, and I was working about 120 hours a week just to make about $250,000 a year. Because I thought that that's what I needed to do to be worthy of that. That's what my belief system was attached to. And since then, for the last 5 years, it's taken me 5 years going through therapy, working with spiritual mentors, getting coaching calls with my mom where I call her, I'm like, okay, Mom, I'm struggling with this, need help with this. Learning what it actually takes to be able to do the things that I've helped other people do. I've seen them do it, but I wasn't experiencing it in my own life. And now today, I can boldly tell you, I live a life where I only work 10 to 15 hours a week, and I make an incredible 7-figure income in our business doing so. And so here's just sure, that validates all that for you, the possibility. Maybe you're thinking that's not possible for you. Okay? I want to prove that to you that it is. There are things right now that you know that you could do that would make you more money, but you're not doing because you would lose friends, you would lose family members, your reputation would change. How people view you would change. Your life would change. But you know that it would produce more financial results for you. And you're not doing them because you want to avoid all of those other side effects from happening. I'll tell you this, you don't need to blow up your life for this to happen. I used to think you did. You don't need to lose everything for this to happen. I used to think you did. What it takes is you raising yourself up to a new level of being. Let me explain what this means. When I come here to make content for you, I cannot operate in the same consciousness that I did 5 years ago. Why? Because that would attract the type of people that I was attracting 5 years ago. Me showing up as the version of myself that was making $250,000 working 120 hours a week, that's a person that I don't want to be ever again. And I had to make a decision that who I was in that moment in time, that Jeremiah is gone. And he's never showing up again. And so I want to ask you this question. There's a version of you in the future that I believe if you're watching this right now and you're still listening to me, it's 10 minutes in this video. Statistically, about 80% of everybody who started this video didn't even get to this 10-minute point of the video because probably they were either annoyed, didn't believe it's possible, pissed off, or they just got distracted. Okay? The fact that you're listening to me right now shows and validates that you have an inkling of a belief that this is possible for you. To be able to make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month working just 10 to 15 hours a week. But can I tell you this? What you've been doing up to this moment in time right now isn't going to get you there. Or you would have been there already. And I used to hear people say that all the time to me, and it would piss me off. It would make me upset. I'd be like, but I know that I know how to get there. And I was like, but the evidence in my life shows that I don't actually know how to sustain it and be consistent with it. And so one of the first things that you have to be when it comes to creating this in your life is you have to be consistent. A person of your word. Somebody who does what they say they're going to do. Somebody who is willing to show up even when you maybe don't feel like it. You figure out how to get yourself to that place that's going to help you show up. For me, personally, I've had the last 3 days. It's been tough. Okay? Didn't make content for the last 2 days. And I knew that I had to make this video. So what did I do? I have a routine that I go through. It's about an hour long, and it gets me into the right state of mind to be able to create content. And so I had to be consistent to figure out how to move the puzzle pieces in my life to allow me to do that for consistency. I haven't worked for like 2 days at all. I don't need to explain why to you, but there's good reasons, okay? And so me actually showing up to record this video is a level of consistency. I did over 1,000 videos for 3 years. 1 10-minute video a day for 3 years. I did a podcast every single week for 4 years. Consistency. I've shown up every single week for my coaching group. Consistency. I've consistently marketed my business and ran Facebook ads to get more people on my email list. Consistency. Here's the problem. Most people only show up and do one thing one time, and because it didn't work out how they wanted to, they don't like it. So what ends up happening is there's a snowball effect that happens, and the snowball starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger as it rolls down the hill. It starts to get larger and larger and larger. And when this snowball gets larger, the amount of hours that you need to put in for the output is much lower because it's leveraged. So you're creating leverage in your life and in your business through the actions of consistency. Most people give up, get distracted, come up with good reasons why they can't do the things that actually work. And then when they start doing a little bit of the stuff that works, they start to get a little bit of motivation, and then a block comes in, a roadblock, and they literally repeat the same patterns over and over and over again. And what ends up happening is that their life is a series of false starts. A little bit of motivation, and then something happens, demotivated. A little bit of motivation, demotivated. And they end up literally less and less and less and less because they find that they just want to stay in this safe comfort zone where they're not disappointed. And we're afraid of getting disappointed by going beyond this level right here. This becomes our limiter, okay? So we all have what's called an upper limit to where we can go with our actions. And there's a great book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I'm a big fan of this book. I've read it over 20 times. And it helped me for the first time when I was selling courses, have my first $20,000 month in my own business after leaving my mom's business was after reading this book right here. So I'm going to pull it up for you. The Big Leap, Conquer Your Hidden Fear, Take Your Life to the Next Level. The idea is, and I love the picture, is getting out of your smaller fishbowl and into the larger fishbowl. Whoops, let me pull this over here right there. Okay? And so the analogy of like the larger, smaller fishbowl, all of that, the reason for this is because that's exactly what the experience is. If you're watching this on video, you can see it. The cover of the book is a fish leaving a small fishbowl and going into a larger fishbowl by jumping from one fishbowl to another. And so the concept that I'm gonna be sharing with you right now is it's borrowed from that book a little bit, but I'm gonna condense it down and kind of teach it in my own way. So we all have this sort of upper limit that ends up blocking us every time we want to go to a new level in our life. And we have to actually make a leap to go up to the next level. And at that level, at each level, there's always going to be an upper limit, is what it is. Okay? There's always an upper limit problem. I've never met anybody who doesn't have repeated upper limit problems. The book talks about this as well, is that even billionaires have an upper limit problem of what it takes to go from 1 billion to 10 billion to 50 billion in their companies, 100 billion, 300 billion. There's an upper limit problem when it comes to their thinking, their mindset, and then their doing and their action taking as far as that goes. And so you got to really identify what that is. And usually it's related to some kind of a fear, worry, something that we want to avoid happening, something that we have been trained, mentored in. It's been ingrained into our thought process that we can't do because it's an immovable belief system, okay? And so I'm gonna use some Chat GPT here to just kind of save us some time. By the way, this is one way that I love using Chat GPT. I'm just gonna show this to you right here. What are the 4 limiting beliefs from Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap? It's going to give us a list. So the 4 limiting beliefs are this: feeling fundamentally flawed, the belief of disloyalty and abandonment, the belief in the virtue of suffering, and the crime of outshining. And for me personally, I suffered from the crime of outshining and disloyalty and abandonment fear. So basically, our upper limit problem manifests in one of these 4 ways for most people, okay? Number 1, fear of being fundamentally flawed. This means that deep down you think that there is something fundamentally wrong with you that makes it to where other people can succeed and you can't. And that you don't deserve it, and it leads to self-sabotage because you think that just people like you that have gone through your experiences just don't succeed. And I meet a lot of people where this is their thinking. Okay? I'm here to tell you this today, that there are people that had it harder than you, that struggle with you, that had less skill set, that are succeeding way greater, and they made a choice to not let this belief system control their life, and to actually realize that they're not fundamentally flawed, that they're actually a beautiful, wonderful creation that can do incredible things greater and beyond what they ever imagined by adopting what is called a growth mindset. A growth mindset is this. There's a difference between what's called a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, okay? You might be watching this right now and you may have what you think is a fixed mindset or you think is a growth mindset, but you're being limited by fixed mindset beliefs, okay? I know a lot of people with a growth mindset. I was one of them who had certain immovable beliefs that were fixed. So what it was my overall mindset was a growth mindset, but there were certain areas that were fixed for me. And oftentimes, one of the words that I see a lot of people use with a fixed mindset is 2 of the words, wisdom and excellence. They believe that they can't do certain things in their business because it's wisdom not to do them. And that it's a spirit of excellence to do things a certain way. And yet, oftentimes, those very beliefs are what actually prevent them from going to the next level. We make things way too black and white. We limit ourselves based on the should-dos in life. One of the biggest things we have to do is we have to get rid of, oftentimes in our thinking, I should be doing this, and just eliminate that and just say, you know what, I didn't do it, I want to do it. Let's figure out how to make it happen and what's stopping me. Because what happens is when we say I should be doing something, we end up going into self-criticism, as well as even sometimes self-punishment. And what that actually does is it wires the brain to create a stronger fixed mindset. So you really want to let go of all of the limitations that we end up putting on ourselves. Should-dos is a big limitation. Sometimes our convictions and standards are certain limitations. Sometimes our fear or our own pride can be a limitation. What we believe is wisdom can be a limitation. Managing our reputation can be a limitation. Spirit of excellence can be a limitation. Now, hear me out. Before you shut me out here, I think all those things are great. I think integrity, having character, operating in wisdom, having a spirit of excellence is great. Okay? I think you should take pride in your work. I think a little bit of fear can be healthy. It keeps you alive. Okay? So hear me out that these aren't bad things that I'm talking about here, but what ends up happening is they become much greater than our own ability to take action, and they get wired into our neurotransmitters to where we know what we need to do, but we have a series of beliefs that become like these locked doors in our lives. And so we literally can't break past to the next level because every time we run into a hard stop of things we like, immovable, I just can't do that. People like me don't do that things. And so one of them is just if you believe that you're completely flawed, that's one of them. The other one is disloyalty and abandonment. And this one is rooted in the fact that we don't want to betray or abandon the people, our family, and our peers by becoming too successful. People who got us to where we are today. And I dealt with this one for a long time. And I had to realize, and every business owner has to realize this, that for you to go to the next level, there will be people that will be left behind. And that's not a bad thing. And you're not betraying people by doing that. And oftentimes, especially if you've been betrayed before, this one's going to be a big one. This one was one of the biggest ones for me. I had a major abandonment wound inside of me. Growing up, my mom was in and out of different medical treatments, and I, as a young child, 1, 2, 3 years old, was left with my grandparents, and I felt abandoned throughout that time period. That wires the brain of a person very uniquely if you study brain science. And I didn't have a father, so raised by a single mom, pretty much raised by grandparents, aunts, and uncles, till I was about 4 years old. That wired me to I'm afraid of being abandoned, and I don't ever want anybody else to feel that way. And I don't ever want to be disloyal to all these people around me. And then what ended up happening was realizing that I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that don't actually have my best interests in mind. They're not helping me, and they're actually hindering me and stopping me from growing. And I'm staying silent and not saying things and not doing the things that I need to do simply because I'm afraid of how people will perceive me and how they might treat me and how they might see that I'm treating them. Now, of course, it's great to care about people and to be kind and compassionate. But you might need to leave your buddies from high school behind. You might need to leave your girlfriends that you meet with every single week behind to go to the next level. Can I tell you that? I had to. I had friends I was drinking with all the time, partying with, smoking weed with, doing all manners of stuff that I'm not proud of. And that was my lifestyle when I was DJing and partying. And I had to leave that behind to go to the next level in my life. I had to leave stuff behind when we had a child born. I had to tell clients, hey, listen, I'm no longer working 40 hours a week. My availability is now 10 to 15 hours a week. And people weren't happy. And they were pissed. And they let me know how pissed they were that I was no longer committed and even being accused of being unkind and uncaring about people and caring more about my wife than people that I made commitments to, quote unquote. Now, first off, this was manipulation that people were throwing at me. I very clearly expressed all of this to people. I told them this up front. And they were using my desire to help people and I was dealing with people pleasing to manipulate me to not spend time with my wife and kids and to give my time to them because they could benefit from it. And there are people in your life that will do that. They will try to convince you that it's wrong to go after your dreams. They will try to convince you that it's wrong to work less hours, to prioritize your self-care. Why? Because they benefit from you not doing that. And you might have to have tough conversations even with the people in your own home for this to happen. But it's worth it. Now, another one is this, is the belief in the virtue of suffering is that suffering is virtuous. And that if we start to succeed, that subconsciously, unconsciously, we're going to create more problems that are going to actually cause more suffering for us. And that if we start having too much success, that we end up going back into the familiar state of mind of what feels right and where suffering is. Can I tell you this? Suffering has a benefit to motivate you to go to the next level. But it's not necessarily the main goal to sit in. I used to think this. I grew up in a church that taught us this belief system called worm theology, this idea that we're like lower than dirt and that we should dislike ourselves. It doesn't even match scripture or what Jesus taught. And yet this is what they taught me growing up as like a 4-year-old in church. And so I had this belief system that I couldn't like myself, that I couldn't have pleasurable experiences, that I couldn't enjoy things like certain foods, movies, music, video games. And how many of you have actually believed that it's better to suffer to reach your goals and to not do anything that's enjoyable, but to stay disciplined on your goals? Can I tell you this? Stop making rules over yourself like this. Let go of all the stuff that everybody around us tells us that we need to and must and should do in order to be happy. And realize that all we're looking for is happiness, and just do more of what you want to do. When is the last time that you've answered this question for yourself? What do I really want to do? What do I want to do? If I want to play a video game for an hour, 2 hours, by the way, that's what my shirt is. It's from this video game series, the Zelda series. If I want to watch sports, great. There are mentors out there that will teach you that it's wrong to engage in entertainment. I don't believe that. I actually believe that having enjoyable time, playing with my son, hanging out with my wife, and by the way, my wife and I enjoy watching sports together. My son enjoys watching them with us. My wife and I enjoy watching movies, TV shows, playing video games, reading books. And what I found is that discipline is important. Discipline is freedom. Self-discipline is massively important. You need to discipline yourself to do the stuff. But you also need to loosen up a little bit. Let go, let loose, have fun, and play a little bit more. And you will see your brain will literally wire itself to be more effective in your working time if you do this. It's a little bit of a deeper conversation for another time. I'll probably do a whole video on this concept because it might take me like an hour to unpack why that works. But it does. It really does. And just learning to have more fun and more happiness and more enjoyment. And even if you can't pay your bills and you're losing your house and you're struggling in your marriage, did you know that you can still stay happy? And that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you're crazy. It's actually a good thing. We have been taught, trained, and wired by, quite frankly, people that want to capitalize on our sadness. Marketers that want to capitalize on our sadness. And some of them are inside of our communities that we're a part of. Because they want us to feel more sad so they can sell us more products. See what I'm saying? The happier you are, the more powerful you are, and the more effective you are with the time that you have. And then the last upper limit, the last one in the big leap is the crime of outshining. And I dealt with this one a lot. It's a belief that revolves around the fear of if we shine too brightly, it'll make others feel inferior, jealous, or resentful, and it'll lead to rejection, isolation. I didn't want to be abandoned. I didn't want to be isolated. And I didn't want anybody to feel like I was showboating or better than them or smarter than them or trying to prove that. And I always would lower myself down to the level that I would be accepted by everybody. I'm not a politician. I know how to make crazy amounts of money in business. And it comes from being willing to just shine as brightly as possible. And when you do that, when you are as happy as possible, when you shine as brightly as possible, when you really do what you're called to do, and you're in your zone of genius, as he calls it in the big leap, you're going to irritate some people. You're going to bug some people. You're going to have some people that are just, they can't stand you because you're just too much. Be too much for some people. You're not too much for yourself, and you're not too much for the things that you're called to do. I hope this encourages some of y'all to just go out there and be a lot. And then every time that you hit a limit where you're like, oh, I got to shrink back, become aware of it. One of the ways that I do this when I feel like I'm shrinking back is I will actually open ChatGPT up. I've worked with a therapist for 5 years, but I will open ChatGPT up and I will start dialoguing with the AI, and I'll say, hey, I was in this situation, I was feeling really confident, then this happened, and I got knocked down to another level of how I'm feeling, and I feel like there's an underlying limiting belief here. Can you help me identify it? That one prompt in ChatGPT and then answering back and forth with it can literally help you unlock certain beliefs that will help you in your life. Okay? So all of this to say is that when you can learn to set up your boundaries, to be willing to say no to all the people and stuff that are trying to pull you and obligate you to do things, trying to get you to spend your time and your money with them, and you learn to identify what are the upper limit beliefs that are preventing me from actually doing the things that I need to do in my business, it shrinks the amount of time that you need to get stuff done very quickly. And then the second part is this: identifying which actions in your business produce the greatest results. Okay? So this is the practical strategy side of things. I spent the last 30 minutes explaining the mindset. We'll spend probably the next 10 explaining the strategy side of it. Okay? Because that's exactly what this is you got to get to the mindset where you can actually do these things, but oftentimes it takes a little while to get there. So you got to look at, in your business, what are the things that are going to produce the greatest results for you. Number one, grow your email list. And this could be email as well as text message community. Okay? This could also even be a school community. School is a platform that Alex Hormozy and Sam Evans have. This could be a Facebook group. You're growing your audience. You're building your community. This could be a Facebook page. This could be an Instagram following. And quite frankly, you want to grow all of those at once. A lot of people are like, well, which one should I do first? You do all of them at once, because if you're doing it right, they all kind of grow together. And they're different places where you're now showing up in a way that is omnipresent. Okay? So omnipresence is what you want. We used to call this multi-channel marketing, where you're showing up in all channels in front of people, not just one at any moment in time. So what you do is you might bring people in through one channel: social media, Facebook group, Facebook ad, email list, joint venture, podcast, ebook, audiobook, any of these things. But then you're bringing them into a deeper level of your community, which might be a school community or a Facebook group. And then you're directing them to sign up to your email list. This allows you to then build an audience inside of the social media algorithms that you can then train to show promotions to a very targeted group of people that are just like those that are in your community. Okay? So what are you actually showing these people to build this? Well, you need to have an offer. You need to have some kind of an offer that people want. You cannot grow any community, any business, or make 6 figures working 10 to 15 hours a week without having an offer that can pay you that. And it doesn't have to be a high ticket offer. It doesn't have to be $10,000. So for instance, think about this, okay? If you get sales, sorry, my throat was getting a little dry. If you get 10 sales at $10,000 a year, that's $100,000 a year. And if you only have to work 10 hours a week to get 10 sales of $10,000 a year, you made $100,000. That's called high ticket, okay? I like to do mid-tier ticket and low ticket, where we might bring people in on a $7 or a $27 offer. We might even have a free offer right here, something that's free, like a download or an ebook or a course or an event. And then we upgrade people to a $500 to a $2,000 offer. And you can make 6 figures off of this right here. And then above that, you might have a $5K, $10K, $20,000 offer on top of that. And that becomes the ascension model that helps you do this, okay? So all of this, you got to have stuff to sell at the right price point with an offer that people are actually going to buy. And you might be saying, well, listen, my people aren't going to buy stuff at that price point. So then you got to create an offer that they will buy at that price point. You might need to change industries, niches, businesses. You might need to sell something differently. If you're in a service-based business, you're trading dollars for hours. And so it might be better to where you could figure out how you could mentor other people in the service that you know how to do. And then you can either certify people, earn a royalty off of their commission, some way that you can leverage your time and investment so that it doesn't come from your actions every single day, okay? So with this is exactly what you need to do, is you need to develop some kind of an offer that you can sell to people that they will pay you that level. And then we start marketing it to people to get customers, to get clients, pulling in traffic of people that actually want to buy or register for one of these offers. And this is exactly what I mentor people in my Client Growth Accelerator program. This is exactly what I teach in all the videos that we create, whether it be on my podcast, whether it be on this channel right here. And so again, I'd love to see you join us in my Client Growth Accelerator. Right now, you can't register for it. The doors are closed to it. Over at my website, jeremiahkrakowski.com, you can find it right here under coaching, group coaching, and you can join the waiting list to my Client Growth Accelerator program, where we work with you to help you grow the amount of clients that you have that are willing to pay you this much money. You are going to have to elevate yourself to the level of, maybe you're saying, well, right now I could not charge that much, or I don't know if I know enough people to build an audience that I could sell a $27 product to make that much money with. Great. You might not today, but you can get mentored on how to do that. And that's exactly what I walk people through, is I come alongside you in your business to work with you to install this entire system in your business to help you craft the right offer, develop the right product, put together exactly what people are going to buy, to take what your strengths are, what your best niche is, what your topic is, whatever you do. Maybe you do home inspections. You could turn that into a home inspection certification. You can mentor other people on that. You might also be able to take your skill sets and translate it over to a different business or different business model. The business model that I like the most is online subscriptions and memberships. Why is that? Because what you get to do is you can have people join you once, they pay you monthly, and you're delivering consistent content, and you're not having to wonder, fight or flight, or the launch model of, am I going to make enough money this month to be able to pay the bills? You have consistent income coming in, even in feast or famine. And this allows you to create a very sustainable business for yourself. And this is what we've helped a lot of people do in their businesses, is be able to create something that they can truly rely on in all economic times, economic seasons, whether it be up times or down times, and be able to create the kind of income that they want to create and have the lifestyle that they want to have. Here's the problem. Most people don't know how to do this. They've not ever been taught it. Most people charge millions of dollars for this type of information. Literally. And in my accelerator program, the cost of it, last time we opened the doors, it was $197 a month for people that were able to join and be a part of it. And so again, doors are not open right now, but if you do join the waiting list, we can help you put together your messaging, your offer stack, to help you to dial in your sales, to help you figure out how to get more people in front of you, to build your community, so that you have consistency, so that you have clarity and focus to be able to create that financial and time freedom that you might be wanting. Listen, this doesn't work for everybody. I know that. It's not for everybody. But if you're watching this video right now, maybe you got to this point in time, I would love to see you at least join our waiting list and jump in when we do next open the doors for my accelerator program, so that we can help you put together an offer that you can put together that's omnipresent to help you grow an email list, so that you can market and sell to people whatever your product service is that you want to create. Some kind of a continuity model. Something where people will pay you and they'll stay on board monthly as far as this goes. You know, pest control. My wife and I, we were looking at different pest control companies. You know, they charge you hundreds of dollars a month to come take care of different pests and stuff in your home. And we were like, you know, maybe we could do this ourselves as far as this goes. Well, guess what? We found a different membership that sells the products that they ship you every single month as far as this goes. So where there's a will, there's a way to create businesses that you can sustainably create subscriptions and memberships around and be able to sell products or services to people. Okay? Whether you're doing coaching, whether you're doing mentoring, whether you got a physical product that you ship out, like a box of goods or things like that, this works. And this is what we help you with to put together in your business. All right? So listen, I'd love to help you with this. Subscribe to my channel if this has helped you in any way. And let me know below, what are your questions that you have about what I just talked about today? What would you like me to break down in a future video? What would you like me to kind of break down in another video to show you exactly what it takes to be able to put one of these together? I want to actually break down the individual pieces of all of this for you here on this channel, right? So that even before you join a mentoring program or a membership or my coaching program with me, and we walk you through all this process and we actually work with you through building it and putting it together, I want to show it to you for free here on my YouTube channel as well. Okay? So leave a comment below. Let me know, what would you like me to teach in a future video? And listen, if this has helped you as well, share it with somebody. I'll talk soon with you. See you on the next video. Have a good one.